Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name is Israel Rodriguez from Riverside, born here in California, and we're about to answer some questions.
What was life like for you growing up as oldest brother? And what was one memory that kind of was like an older brother moment?
All right, still an older brother, but life when I was younger as an older brother is a long, long time ago. So it's kind of hard to remember a lot of stuff. Life as an older brother, I think it entailed a lot because just the way your grandpa was too, your papa, my dad, and life as an older brother and the only male is different because you have a role of your childhood is fun and everything, but it's serious because you have work to do still as an older brother. So I have three sisters and my mom. So it was just, his thing was, you're the man of the house until I come back. And that's a lot for a, 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old, because he was a truck driver. So he would leave and we'd pretty much see him. He'd leave on Monday. So we'd see him, Friday or Saturday. He'd be home for the weekend. So as an older brother, it's like I always had to be taking care of them, But of course, he did have a lot of fun too. I mean, those are some of the best times, and I was still riding my bike around early in the morning and late at night, So, but yeah, it was fun, but it was challenging at the same time. The role was definitely, you still have work to do, So yeah, that was life as an older brother. Three sisters, all different personalities, from really chill to really wild and really talkative, and So I mean, I guess it helped me out too, trying to relate to the other side, as far as like being around females and stuff like that. That helped out quite a bit because you see the different personalities, especially the ones that my sisters had, and they have a lot of personalities. So yeah, and I think one memorable one is probably with we won't say any names, but but one of the sisters, and she was pretty wild, and she just she couldn't stay still. And one day when my mom and dad they left, I don't know where they went on a date or something, I don't know, but she wouldn't stop, she wouldn't behave, so we tied her to a chair. So yeah, that's kind of one of those big brother moments. We tied her to a chair, and it's just like, okay, now you're gonna sit still for a while.
How old were you guys?
Oh man, I think I was in maybe sixth grade, so she had to be like in maybe second grade or something. She was, yeah, she was just a wild one. But yeah, I probably got in trouble for it later too. That's just part of it. But yeah, it was a lot of good times. Um, Again, you have your good and bad times with that, but yeah, and I think it helps out too, because it kind of gave me, a glimpse into what life was going to be later on as far as taking care of people. So, yeah.
Um, Second question is, what were some early challenges for you being a father at an early age, and how did you learn to overcome those challenges?
Hmm. Let's see. It was so the thing is with that one too, because like I said, with being the oldest brother, it's kind of like I had to start taking care of people at a younger age. And so I think it was a nice transition with that. I'm not nice transition, but it made things a little bit more, I don't want to say easier, but familiar, I guess. That would be the word. And so I think the difficult part was learning how to be a dad to a blended family because your older brother, he was, I think, three when I came into the picture. So it was just an automatic family. And it wasn't necessarily like I can claim him right away as my son, but it was just like over time that relationship had to be established before he was just like dad. I didn't force him to call me dad. even though I was there and his dad wasn't in the picture, but that he had to have trust and we had to establish that relationship. So I think learning how to be a dad on the fly, just, I had to do it right there, and just building that trust and that relationship with Manuel, your older brother. I think that transition was a little different.
Did you feel impatient when you said that when he was 3, did you feel impatient for that, like, dad title? Did you kind of feel like you wanted to, all right, start calling me dad, I'm your dad now? Or was it kind of like was it just the process of just building a relationship?
It's funny because when you said impatient, I was like, I was impatient with him, but it wasn't like, because he was a little boy. I wasn't used to something, not something, but someone, little with all that energy around me like that, because I was still young, so the impatient part was like, I had to become familiar with his personality and his characteristics and the way he was. And it's like, I can't force anything upon him, and I don't want to force anything upon him. Did I want him to call me dad? Yeah. To me, it was that was that stamp where, okay, he truly trusts me and cares for me, and, and we have that relationship now. To me, it's like, it's really important. The relationship part is really important. The title part is, that can come later, whenever, even if it ever does. That's not, titles are titles, but the relationship, you can't take that away. So I think, just building that relationship with him and trying to understand, what he's been going through, or what he doesn't have his dad around, and here I am, so.
How was it transitioning into a young man with no kids? Or from a young man with no kids and then creating a life with a wife and kids? And what lessons did you learn?
So the transitioning part, I mean, it's always a big step, because I think throughout high school, I still had that big brother role, but I started slipping into becoming my own, I guess, in a sense, or trying to figure out who I was. And so, because when your mom and I married, short, I think I was 21, 22, 21, I think it was. So prior to that, there was just a lot of partying, a lot of drinking. So just a lot of just being out there, and I didn't have to really care about anybody but me, So I think the time where it was just like, when I met your mom, and then, started that relationship and everything. And then with Manuel, it's like, okay, we have an instant family now. And I realized I can't live for myself, because now it's her and him. So it's a big step from only being concerned about yourself and having a good time and worrying about when's the next party, and now it's like, no, you're concerned about people now, concerned about a little person and a spouse. So things definitely had to switch up, and there was a time where I did go to school right after, and so that helped me out like tremendously, because I went to school to be a drug and alcohol counselor. So that helped out a lot. So it gave me the opportunity to open some doors, for me, that I went through in the past, and, just get over a lot of different issues. And so that transitioning from high school to partying, and then to school again, and then to a relationship, to marriage and a kid. I think if I didn't go through the class, and, because we really had to, as far as learning about drug and alcohol and the chemical imbalance and all that stuff, you really have to get inside and dig through some stuff and sort through some stuff you didn't want to, or you didn't realize you needed to. And I think that's a big part of moving on to the next level. You have to get through some other stuff first. If you want to be the best at your next level, you got to get through some stuff. And I think that helped out quite a bit.
Things and challenges that are different between raising grandchildren and your own kids.
Wow. We can send them home. That's the best part of it. And I think that's the key to it. When the question is, how is it different between raising grandkids and raising your own? I'm not raising them. In the sense that the way I raised you guys, the way your mom and I raised you guys, they're not solely my responsibility. They have a mom, they have a dad. They're raising them. We're not raising them. There's things that we give to them and that we expect from them when they come over in a certain way to behave and stuff like that. But I don't feel in the sense of how I raised you. You're with me constantly from sun up to sundown. You're next to me. There's things that I established in you, the same way your papa established in me. Is there things that they can learn from me and that I hope they learn from me? Yeah, of course. But I don't think I'm raising them. I don't think your mom and I are raising them. And what was that saying? I don't know. I read it not too long ago, and it was pretty much if you raise your children right, you won't have to raise your grandchildren. It was something to that effect. And it's like, because they can take care of their own kids. Now we just get to spoil them. I mean, you've seen the way your mom is with them, and it's wild. I was like, stop spending money on these babies. So, yeah, we care for them and love them as much as we loved you guys. But it's just different. It's totally different. I think the idea of our own kids, you guys, to me, it's always been taken serious. Like, I'm responsible for you. I'm responsible for your sister. I'm responsible for your brother. And your papa used to tell me, I'm going to have to take accountability for you. And it's just like, to a certain extent, yeah, you are going to have to take accountability. And I think before God, and he's like, I'm going to have to be responsible up to a certain point of what you did and how I trained you and how you lived your life, and how, not necessarily how you lived your life, but how I poured into your life. Because to me, it's like, you guys were a gift. That's just all to it. You guys were a gift. And it's my responsibility to take care of that gift and to love that gift. And that's you guys. So, yeah, it's a huge responsibility being a parent. It's definitely not like being a grandparent, that's for sure. Because they only get all the good. But, yeah, it's an honor and it's a privilege to be a parent, and it's difficult. And it's really difficult because there's going to be things that your sister sees with those boys that we won't. And that's solely her responsibility with her husband. She asks for help, then we'll help. But for the most part, just like with your mom and I, there's only certain things that her and I saw with you guys that not anybody else saw. So, that's our privilege. That's our honor. So, yeah, it's totally different raising grandkids and raising kids.
Did your upbringing / childhood factor into how you go about life today?
So I think with your papa and I, our relationship wasn't the best. So he was really reckless with his discipline. So I think with that, and him and I, we talked about it. So things are good. And he actually, we got to talk and, the whole thing. But to actually, for me to bring that into for now, it helps me be more understanding. I think it really gives me an open eye to like, this person's acting that way, and it's like, okay, why? It's just not, we just take it at face value that they're just acting that way. Mm-hmm. No, there's something going on. If we take the time to find out, we dig a little deeper. And that's why I think relationships are so important to me. Because if we just meet on the street and you just like, we don't know each other. You don't know anything about my past. I don't know anything about yours. And I think we become a little more conscious and a little more, I don't want to say sympathetic, empathetic, so we understand a little bit more about people and maybe what they've been through. And I think that's a huge thing, so we can actually consider them, be more considerate. Like, we just don't know what they had to go through, So I think on a day-to-day basis, yeah, I think that helped me out quite a bit, not to just take people at their face value, but consider what they might have been through. And that doesn't give them examples to still be stupid, you know, but it helps a little bit to be empathetic and like, okay, if I didn't do the things that I went through to help me get to where I'm at now, because it's like, I don't want to be stuck, you know, with those thoughts. I want to move forward, you know, and I hope that if people, you know, truly do want to move forward, they find a way. We have all the resources available to us, you know, to get past any of these situations. And I'm not downplaying anyone's situation, you know, what they've been through in the past, because we've all had it hard. It's just, what are you going to do about it? So for me, you know, sometimes as much as I had fun as a kid, you know, it wasn't always like that, you know, so yeah, it helped me be more understanding.
What were some things that you learned that helped shape you into a loving and a present father?
Am I?
I would think so.
What helped shape me? I think your Nana played a big part of that. Because as much as I talk about your papa, because there was two parts. There was him, the disciplinary, and there was her, the homemaker, and that entailed a lot of love. So I got the best of both worlds and almost the worst of one side, but definitely helped with that because she just cared for everybody. So I think that played a big part in, you know, helping me, you know, want to be there for people because she was always there for people. That was huge. I didn't want to be the same way your papa was with me. I didn't want to be that same way with you guys. So he was definitely an example of what to be and what not to be like. You know, work ethic, oh man, you know, I love the work ethic that he gave me, you know. As far as being a relationship dad, probably not, you know. And again, I know some things that he went through from his past and with his mom, you know. Would I expect anything less? And it's just, you know, I don't want to say generation curse. I can't stand that. But these generational patterns, if we don't get out of them, you know, and it's just like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to continue this pattern in my kid's life. Of course you guys got disciplined. You know, there was no way around it that you weren't going to get disciplined. But I was truly made an effort not to be reckless with my discipline with you guys. You know, I didn't want to break you guys, you know, or hurt you guys, but you needed to learn. So, so I think that helped out too, that I didn't want to but I didn't want to follow the same patterns again, you know, and establish that in you guys. And then you pass that on to your family. And it's just like, no, it's got to stop. So, you know, both of them played a huge part. You know, your Nana was just always open arms to everyone, you know, so that helped out quite a bit. So even with Manuel, when I remember when she met Manuel, she's just like, that's it. He's mine. You know, she embraced him. So, yeah. The one thing that I heard was as far as with Eric Thompson, and he was saying, what's your why? And it was just like, why do you want this? What, you know, and you guys were the reason why I got up every morning to go to work, go work out, you know, get you guys in church, you know, basketball, football, you know, after school programs. That's the whole thing about being the parent. It just, you give up the why. Yeah, you guys were my why. You know, the reason why, you know, I would do everything, you know, and try to be my very best and give my very best for you, you know. And like I said, you know, your papa wasn't there all the time when we were younger, and, you know, I didn't have him around. And I think sometimes when we don't have it, the lack of, we kind of overcompensate when we get a little bit older. So it's like, I knew what not to be like. You know, I knew what it was like not having my dad around until like the weekend. And then him pretty much being tired all the time. And And so I wanted that time with you guys. I wanted it to be the very best, and I wanted it to, you know, just to be about you guys and your mom. And so, and to me, I've always learned that money is going to come and go. You can make more money, but you can't make more time. I can't get time back with you were 5 years old, 6 years old. That's not going to happen. And I don't want to, you know, back then I didn't want to come to this point and be like, I don't know why I didn't spend more time with you. You know, I don't know why I didn't give you more attention. Why I was at work all the time. I was like, yeah, but the times I'm not, I'm going to give you the very best of me. The same thing with your sister and with your brother. You know, they're going to get the very best of me. And, you know, and I try to be there as much as I can for your mom too, because it was just like we would have different times. So yeah, I try to give everybody the very best of me, and that's, you know, and again, relationships are very important to me. You know, it lets you know where you stand in my life if I give you this time, because you just don't know when that time's going to be up. So yeah, you guys, that was my driving force. And then, you know, we look at what the Lord did for us. You know, our Father God sent down His Son, knowing, you know, He was going to die, and He still gave His very best of Himself. So it's like, why wouldn't I give myself, you know, to you guys, to your mom, to the Lord? So you guys were the reason why.
Is a lot of people deal with the term being born again. What does that mean to you, and what was that defining moment for you?
Being born again. I guess it was a good question. I think that was with, you know, you asked that question, and I think it was one of the Pharisees who asked that question to Jesus. I think it was Nicodemus who asked that question to Jesus. You know, what does it mean to be born again? I can't go back into my mom's womb, be an old man, and come out. It's not physical. It's definitely a spiritual thing. You know, it's actually to be born of above, which is the kingdom of heaven and the spiritual part of that. You know, to be born again is now to be born of the Spirit. To me, it was just so early in high school. I felt like, okay, that was my born again moment, because we're like at a prayer meeting, you know, because we're involved with the youth group. We had to be involved with the youth group. That was one of the things we had to do. Your mom or your nana and your papa made sure we were there. So it was like a prayer meeting or something, and we're all praying in this room, and I think that was my born again moment. And I just remember like the Spirit just falling upon me, and then I'm crying and everybody's crying around me, and it's just like, okay, this is it. This is my born again moment. I'm now saved. I wasn't afraid I was going to go to hell all the time. I'm going to heaven now. Because I mean, as a kid, you're always afraid like, oh, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna go to hell. You know? And it was just like always in a fearful kind of way. But this time it was like, oh, I'm born again. But then after that, you know, that brief moment was cool and everything, but then I just got into everything else. So I think the whole thing with born again, it's bring fruits worthy of repentance. Show me you're born again. I need to show my Lord. Not that what I do is going to bring me closer to Him. It's not. You know, His Son paid the perfect sacrifice for Him. But it says show fruits worthy of repentance. I didn't stop anything. I stopped that night, you know, but I think I got deeper into it. I started selling weed and stuff at high school, and I think I sold some to one of the kids in the youth group. So it was like my born again moment was just a born again moment until there was actually fruits of repentance. To me, that's my thing, fruits of repentance. Yeah, once you bring those fruits in, you know, it's like, I'm changing, Lord. You know, I'm not going to be doing this. I'm actually going to start doing this. And not just for that time, you know, it's gradual. It's consistent. I think a big point where I started taking things a lot more seriously is Who was it? It was me and some of my friends, and you know them. Some of my friends that I still have right now from high school. We had went into a club, and two of us stepped outside to start drinking some more, and a couple of them were still inside, and one got jumped. They came outside. They told us. So it's like, okay, we're waiting, and we did, and a big old fight happened outside. And I think that at that time your mom was pregnant with Danielle, with your sister. And that was an eye-opening moment for me. That was a huge eye-opening moment for me. Because it's like, can't be a dad doing this stuff. You know, and at that point, I stopped drinking. That was, Danielle's 28, I think 28 years ago. Stopped drinking, and it was just like I can't be a dad and still be drunk and, you know, have responsibilities and be out here. It wasn't for me. I can't do it. And, you know, I thank the Lord. He opened my eyes to that. And because you're not in your right mind, you know, not that you're out being crazy or anything, but your senses are more dull. You know, you can't give your full attention. And to me, it's like, if you call me and you need me, I need to be at my very best. If you need me, you, your sister, your brother, your mom, because again, my job is to take care of you. And if you can't handle something, you're going to call me. And I'm going to do my very best. And I can't be intoxicated if you need me. What good is that? So that was my big turning point right there. It's like, I can't live this life and be a dad, be a husband, you know. I can't do that. I don't think we were married yet. No, we weren't married yet. But I was like, this has to change, you know. Luckily, things didn't get worse than what they did in that parking lot, you know, so.
Question is, what's one of the best piece of advice that you received that you still use to this day?
Man, there's been so many people that gave me advice. A lot, tell you the truth. But the one thing that actually, I think, because I heard it from two different people. So Edna Mole from The Incredibles, she gave the best advice. She said, luck favors the prepared. And it was like, so if I'm ready, because I mean, you can't depend on luck, but it favors the prepared. So if you're prepared for something and something does happen for you or to you, you've been getting ready for this your whole life. You've been training for this moment. And then your papa used to tell me too, it's that you can't rely on luck, but preparation meets opportunity. So you've been training again. You've been preparing for this your whole life. And now the opportunity to rise. It's like, oh yeah. So I think Sugar Free said it too. If you stay ready, you don't got to get ready. So
What was Papa's, what did he say?
Preparation meets opportunity. So you've been preparing for this. Meets opportunity. And it's like, because we don't know when that opportunity is going to arise. But if you're ready for it physically, spiritually, mentally, it's yours. Why wouldn't it be yours? So it's like, we can't rely on luck. So those things, it's like, if you prepare, if you're your best all the time, mentally, physically, spiritually, and that thing comes up, good or bad, you're going to be ready for it. Because you're in the right place.
If you could give some advice to fathers that are struggling to be a better parent, what would it be?
If you're struggling, you're still standing. You're still going through it. You're still fighting. So I would say continue to fight. Endure, just keep on pushing. It's going to get better. That's momentarily at that time. It's just a moment. If that moment lasts long, then so be it. But it's going to get better. You're definitely going to see the fruits of it. You know, I think that's just part of being a better person afterwards. That's something that builds character, just going through it. If it was that easy, we'd be soft. If we never had to face any kind of hardship, we'd be people with not a whole lot of character, and So I would say to that dad, keep on fighting. Don't give up. Don't give up on your kids. Don't give up on your faith, your spouse. And the funny thing about it is too, I was kind of thinking about it, and I heard one of the pastors had talked about it, and because I think we tend to, I'll say me, at the point in time, I was tending to like be hard on myself because of things that you guys had done and choices you guys had made, and it kind of troubled me, and it was just like, and I think I expressed to your mom is like, what did I do wrong? What did I do? And because I always thought, okay, I tried my best all the time for you guys. Why did they do this? Why did they do that? And I heard this one pastor, and he had said, our perfect God had made perfect people and put them in the perfect environment, and they still messed up. He created Adam and Eve, put them in the Garden of Eden, a perfect place. Told them they can have whatever they want except for that one thing. What did they pick? They messed up. So it kind of like I was able to drop a little bit of guilt, I guess, because if God being a heavenly Father and being perfect and his kids messed up, it's okay for my kids to mess up, in a sense. Like I can relieve myself of a little bit of guilt, because your choices are your choices. The same way with your nana and your papa, I made some dumb choices, and they raised me, as best as they could. But I'm still gonna have to go out there. You still went out there. Your siblings still went out there and made choices. Now you're responsible for your choices. I thought I did the very best before the Lord, with training you guys, and I couldn't hold on to any kind of guilt because of things that you did and choices you guys made. Because his kids messed up too. So none of us are perfect. So that was a big thing too. I had to release a lot of that guilt that I felt. And you guys had to make some choices to become adults. So